And when you look into the Dharma Sutras, of course, the four varnas are described, the four ashramas are described. The sannyas ashram is very well described, and and what are sannyasis expected to do, they are described very well as well. So in a certain sense, when Buddha was consumed by an existential crisis, and when he basically left his kingdom, he was essentially moving away from the fourfold order, and he was entering the sannyas ashram in exactly the same manner as it is actually described in the Dharma Sutras. What is it that he does? He basically cuts his hair. The sannyasis of that particular time, they were supposed to, shave their hair off completely, or would have shikha. This is described in the Dharma Sutras. They were supposed to have a begging bowl. This also is described in the Dharma Sutra. And what we also need to recognize is that sannyas was the ashram when a particular individual was moving away from the fourfold order and was basically moving away from the varnashrama. The varnashrama was constituted by the three gunas. So in a certain sense, the individual was going to engage in practices which will allow the individual to transcend the three gunas and eventually become a yogi or an enlightened person who is described within the tradition as Trigunatita. This understanding is very, very very important as far as the sannyas ashram is concerned and the description of a yogi is concerned. So sannyas ashram is specifically the time when you are moving away from the four varnas and you are entering into a situation where you will be able to transcend the three gunas and become an enlightened person. So if in Buddhist literature, if you find Buddha speaking against the Varna system, it should not be surprising, because Buddha first became sannyasi and later he remained an individual who was basically leading a group of sannyasis. Buddhism was not followed by the householders. Buddhism was supported by householders. Buddhism was practiced essentially by sannyasis. And once again, when you go into the Dharma Sutras, you will find that the practice of what are called as rituals today, or the practice of ceremonies, they were not important for the sannyasis. The practice of rituals or ceremonies was supposed to be practiced by people who were in brahmacharya and grihastha. Sannyasis, even today, are not supposed to be ritualistic. They are not supposed to be performing ceremonies. So I'm going back again to this crucial understanding that if you remove Buddhism or the practices of Buddhism from the ashrama of sannyasa and the world of yogis, it should not be surprising that the distortions will come. Buddhism must be looked into, from these two perspectives. So just to emphasize this point, what I'm saying is that the sannyasis, even in the earlier times, they were not supposed to be engaging in any kind of rituals or ceremonies, and sannyasis were not supposed to be following the Varna order. And this traditional understanding is still prevalent in ancient India because it's commonly understood or noted, or it's commonly stated, Jati na pucho sadhu ki. Traditional India even today does not talk about the jati of a sadhu or a sannyasi, because this understanding is deeply embedded within the tradition that with the moment a sannyasi takes sannyas, or an individual takes sannyas, he or she has started moving away from the fourfold order, and he or she has basically started moving away from the three gunas, which essentially determine the varna of an individual. Now,